What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of ArmTalk. I'm your host, Jody Williams, and today I have an awesome guy here, and his name is Ryan Johnston. Ryan, how you doing today?
Doing great. How are you, Jody?
I'm doing pretty good, and I brought you on the show because there's a huge event coming up on October 23rd, but it has nothing to do with John Brzezinski versus Paul Lynn. Could you let the viewers out there know what October 23rd is?
Yeah, well, it's actually an event called Fallen Heroes. I've been doing it for about 6 years now. This is the fifth event because we had to skip last year. And just because of COVID, actually, I ran my event. I had my baby the Friday that I was supposed to have weigh-ins, and reached out to Brian Kerner, and he actually rebranded it to an event called NatFit Midwest Open. I asked him if he would help, and we kind of came up with that name, and he's been running with it. You guys probably heard of that event earlier last year, and I think he's going to continue with that one. But Fallen Heroes is a charity event where we raise money for first responders that die in the line of duty. And this organization called the Surviving Spouse and Family Endowment Fund, they go by SAFE. They give $25,000 to first responders that die in the Kansas City area in the line of duty, immediately, because there's federal funding that comes into play, but that can take years. So they just give these families money immediately because, these are the primary caregivers in a lot of instances. They need this money to help. And I love the cause. I was asked about 6 years ago to help run an event to raise money, and I've just kind of taken it and ran from it. I know I'm kind of blabbering on here, but the other side of it is we've kind of doubled up this year, where there's a puller named Jake Houston. He's dealing with a very severe health issue where he actually needs to have transplants. So we are helping him raise money because right now he's going through dialysis, and you have to be on dialysis for I think 4 months before Medicare kicks in, and he's self-employed, so his insurance is all out of his own pocket. And after that goes in, they only pay for 80% of it. So right now he's working, doing these dialysis treatments and paying a ton of money. And the expenses don't stop once he gets that transplant. So I'm putting 50% of it towards SAFE, 50% of it towards him. Don't make a dime off of it. I run charity events every year. I don't need extra money for promoting events. So I do charity events to try and give back to different areas and different people at the same time. And I thought Jake and SAFE this year were both great causes.
That's awesome. I like doing or promoting. I like participating in events like that. I do one every year. Let me take that back. I participate in one every year down in Southern Oregon. It goes to the Joe Woody Invitational, and all proceeds go to the suicide prevention program. And I've been doing that since 2013. And a lot of people know my wife and I, our son, got killed in an ATV accident last year. So this past summer was our first event where it was the LOD Foundation, and all proceeds went back to the foundation. And what that does is just we help other kids paying it forward. Like if they need, money for travel sports, or they need cleats or any kind of baseball gear or whatnot, we kind of give back to that. So that's actually, for me, it means more, aside from the arm wrestling. That's always good too. But for having events like that, it just means more, because then you get people who really come out and support you. And that's how you kind of separate. And that's how you know who's there for, like, hey, to help support the cause, or who's there just to say, okay, well, how much money is there, and all that kind of good stuff. So I do appreciate what you do.
Well, and that's the thing that I wanted to do with all of my tournaments too. I'll essentially run 3 or 4 events each year and take that money and help fund the Fallen Heroes event. And on another note, the original date for Fallen Heroes this year actually was back in June whenever you ran your event, and I moved it just because, you're on the West Coast. I know that any extra entries, to take away, and Fallen Heroes is usually a pretty big event. I thought you ran, I don't even know if you knew this, I thought you were running your event, so I moved the date just because I didn't want to take away from your event, because I knew it was a big deal and knew it was important to you. So.
Well, I appreciate that. And to play it forward, I'm so excited to get the 10-year event, I'm excited to get to see what kind of barbecue Kansas City has to offer. So
it's the best.
I am super excited and stuff. And I look at the card, and I'm like going, that is an awesome super match card outside of the tournament itself, and I'm thinking, wow. And then you got the 200-pound money class. I'm thinking that's going to be a day of just awesome pulling. As Jamie Sheldon, what's up, Jamie? He's in the chat. He's saying hello.
Hey, Jamie.
I'm excited because the array of talent coming from all over the country. I mean, as far east as Pennsylvania, as far west as, Oregon, myself, and then everybody else all gathering in one spot. And I'm telling you right now, it's awesome. I can't wait to be there. But let's talk about some of those super matches.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Cody Merritt, is he pulling Andrew? How do you pronounce his last name?
Begansky, and I'm not surprised you don't know that because he's not a real well-known puller, but I think he shows up and surprises people everywhere he goes.
Right. And I always just put Big Andrew. Everybody knows who I'm talking about. I just didn't want to butcher his last name, but that's who Cody's pulling. And Cody just chimed in. He said, "What's up, fellas?" So I'm excited to see that match. Cody has a big schedule. I think as we speak, he might be in Orlando, Florida, for the Mr. Olympia tournament.
I'm sure a lot of people are. You got a lot of stuff going on right now.
He has that match. He has Andrew coming up in 2 weeks. I thought he had a match against Tony Thomason coming up soon too, but I'll let him answer that. He goes, "Yes, I am in Orlando." All right. So he has stuff lined up. And I'm telling you right now, those guys, that's a lot of meat on the table. And Cody's been doing the work. And what I mean by that is that even though with all this COVID going on, Cody's like, you know what? I'll still like the sport. I'm going to pull it. He's gone to King of Florida, dominated. He's gone to the Katie Bostic Memorial back in May in Nevada, dominated that. He might just dominate, thank God I'm not in his class. He might dominate there. He's probably the odds-on favorite to win the Olympia left-handed money match this coming weekend. So
I know Travis Bajan better not jump in there. I don't think he's ready for Cody at this point.
Travis is not ready. He's and this is no disrespect to Travis, but right now he's in football mode. He has his son playing quarterback out of college, and that's where his brain is. So his training is not where it should be to be calling nobody out. But and Cody said yes, November 13th. Tony Thomason. I want to say that's at the Brazil Cup in Midvale, Utah. If I'm guessing, my brain might be a little rattled, Cody, but I think that's the event. And I think Eric Wolf was pulling Justin Green that day, but I could be wrong. But correct me, Cody. But we have some other awesome events. I mean, tell me some more matches that's on the card, October 23rd.
Yeah, so Cody and Andrew are two big boys pulling, and they're pulling right-handed. And I don't know if Andrew can pull left-handed. Then we have our top roll titles that Don Underwood started way back in 2007 or 8, and those are still floating around. Right now, the heavyweight top roll champion is Russ Schrader out of Arkansas, and Russ, he's been around for probably 5 or 6 years now, getting stronger and competing with the best of them around the 42 class. And then we have Bill Olison out of Eudora, Kansas. He's around the Kansas City areas, and he's beating everybody. Rockers, Jordan Sill, Sonny Larson, I think he lost to most recently, but that was at 200. You had 30 pounds to Bo. He's a little bit different beast, so he's wanting to take that 230 belt from Russ. So I set that up because, Russ is beating all the opponents and he's not afraid to take a match, but I think he still has yet to really cross that Bo Olison hurdle. So He wants to see if he can do it, and Bo wants to get one of those top roll belts again. So thought it made perfect sense, and it really lined up perfectly. And it's a right and left-handed match. They're both very good pullers, both sides. They're going to pull kind of how that works is if one wins right, one wins left, the champion gets to decide the tie-breaking arm. So they'll have a pull off.
Okay.
So
I was going to ask you how that works out.
Yeah. So and there's some times where, like Stephen Green was a 230-pound champion for years and still never really lost the belt. He just kind of got injured by Dimitri probably 3 years ago, and he always just pulled right-handed. He just gave up the left hand and decided, hey, right hand's going to be the tiebreaker anyways. We're pulling right-handed. So it worked out that way. So,
well, hell, at that case, you might as well get an interim belt like UFC, because if he technically didn't lose it, he just kind of gave it up, then quote unquote, I don't want to, stir nothing up, but isn't he still the champ? But, that's neither here nor there.
No, I can actually answer that pretty easily because I think Russ knows that Steven is the man,
Right.
but Steven's just injured. He essentially tore his ligaments in his elbow to shreds.
Ouch.
And waited too long to get that repaired. So a bunch of scar tissue built up. And so he's in the long process of building back. He gets on the table and he still pulls you anywhere he wants because he's just so powerful. But if he has to push any side pressure or hook pressure, it just, makes him in so much pain. He has to, jump off the table. So he's not ready to pull. So that's why Russ is the champ right now.
Well, it's unfortunate for Steven. I hope he has a speedy recovery, but we have a lot more matches on there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, let's see here. So do you have it pulled up in front of you?
I can do that as we're talking. Go ahead. Cause I know, because in as far as that, and the thing about that with those top row belts, I know that was a thing back in the day, and I'm excited that it's kind of resurfaced because for a while it was just kind of quiet. It seemed like Don Underwood would have the heavyweight or super heavyweight, Stephen Green would have the heavyweight, Bill Logsdon, I think he has a match on the card. He would have the lightweight, and then or Ethan Fritchie would have like the middleweight or whatever belt it was.
So for years, it was Ethan had the lightweight, Bill would have the 198. Stephen Green would have the heavyweight, which is like 230, 242. And then Nick Vina, Don Underwood. I mean, the heavyweight one's gone from everybody. I think John Brzezinski even had it at one point. So, these belts are prestigious. It's just, it's I look at arm wrestling lately as two different eras, pre-Game of Arms and post-Game of Arms. And a lot of the pullers now only know stuff that's after post-Game of Arms. So these are all pre-Game of Arms stuff, and not a lot of people know about the top roll belts, but they are pretty prestigious, heavy-duty belts that are sought after in the right communities.
I got it right in front of me. We got Corey Johnston versus Cody Vanderweed or Vanderweed.
Vanderweed, yeah. So Corey is a puller from Arkansas or Oklahoma, sorry, and he's very strong. He just recently beat Roman Gromov at an event out in, I think, Utah, maybe.
Yeah.
Somewhere out there. And, Roman pulls multiple classes, so you got to take some of that stuff with a grain of salt. But the way he beat him, I've pulled Roman whenever he's pulled multiple classes, and he's still, a beast and flat. He's kind of like Corey Miller. He can pull every class and still beat you and embarrass you. So, him getting the win on there is impressive. And then Cody Vanderweed he trains out at Psycho Arm Sports Complex with Bo Olson and the rest of those guys. And he's kind of their assistant coach. Very knowledgeable puller, been pulling for probably 6 or 7 years at this point. And just a little powerhouse guy, walks around about 176, powerlifting background, and looks every bit of it. So I think it'll be a good matchup for them. I believe they're pulling right-handed. And then Corey on the left-hand side is pulling Caleb Rout from Southern Missouri. And Caleb is a predominantly left-handed puller and very strong, kind of working his way up the ladder. He's actually pulling Roman Gromov this weekend up in Minnesota for Justin Drellick's MBK birthday bash. So you get to see a little preview of what he has to offer. And then, he's friends with Jake, so he's trying to get his name on cards and get more attention to events that are helping raise money for Jake, which, by the way, just a little free plug to Drellick. He's running his event, and 100% of the proceeds are going to help out with Jake's medical expenses as well.
Awesome job. We got Kevin Harris and we got Danny Gillian out of Texas.
Yeah. I'm real excited about this match. These guys have been pulling longer than I've been alive. And I always thought, man, I wonder how these two guys would match up. So I reached out. I've been trying to get Danny and the rest of those Texas guys, Anthony Lowe and Robbie Burnett and any of those other Texas guys down there up to the event for years. And so it worked out finally. And I reached out to Danny and offered him a match with Kevin Harris. And if you don't know Rock Dog, you haven't been paying attention to arm wrestling long enough.
Oh, yeah. We know about the Rock Dog. Oh, yeah. He's like he was one of those guys that was rocking and rolling back in the Arm Wars days too. So.
Oh, yeah. Kevin was one of my first matches ever. Back in, I think, 2008. I think he might have been my first left-handed tournament match at ROCN in 2008. But he's been around for, decades and been everywhere, done everything. He's power inside puller. He's not trying to get to the straps. He's not trying to do anything fancy. He wants to see if he's stronger than you. And Danny pulls the same way.
Right.
Danny's a little bit more versatile. He'll top roll you, but I think at the end of the day, they're both just old powerhouse pullers. They just want to see, give us a grip and let's see if I can beat the other guy. And I think that's where that match is going to go. I think they're going to dive in a hook and just going to be whoever's stronger, whoever has the bigger bicep. And these guys are built for that type of pulling. And Danny will pull all day, every day. He just seems like the type of guy that loves to pull. And Kevin, loves to train. He's been about arm wrestling for as long as he can probably remember. And Danny's kind of the same way. They're both just those types of warrior type guys.
Well, I'll tell you what, for those two guys, don't worry about getting the strap out because you probably won't need it with those guys,
Oh, no.
So Doug Allen's also pulling, but I didn't see the opponent. I didn't recognize him at first.
Yeah, that's Anthony Lowe. He goes by Top Roll Lowe on Facebook. And he is, there's a reason why he named himself Top Roll Lowe on Facebook. He has a top roll that I don't think anybody can hook. I've never seen him get hooked. The way that he has a defensive top roll, he uses a long lever and wrist to kind of kink it in and just go to the side. And it flat palms if you try to get inside with him. And the only way I've ever seen him get beat is, a dominant hand and alternate top roll. So
right,
we'll have to see what Doug can do there. It's a right-handed match. Anthony's actually better left-handed, but he's dealing with an injury. Anthony and Robbie Burnett stayed with us down in Worlds, and I got to know them a lot better, and they are great guys. I'm looking forward to them coming up and being a part of the event. But I think that, Anthony reached out to me and said, I want a top 10 opponent, right? And I said, well, I know Doug because he was part of the Kansas City Rolling Thunder team for a short period of time whenever Game of Arms was going on. But he's out here filming and stuff, and I got to know him enough to at least reach out. And, it worked out to where he's like, yeah, I'll do that. I'd like to be a part of the event and come out and have a good time in Kansas City. And Doug seems like he's getting a lot more active than he has been. I don't know if as many people know who Doug is as they should, but man, he's one of the best out there. And if you don't know Doug Allen, get ready for a show because I think I've seen him go inside with John Brzezinski and make John almost ruin his day trying to pin him.
Yeah, and that's they say style make matches because does Doug believe like, okay, I have enough power, I want to crack that code, I want to be able to hook Top Roll Low and get him out of his comfort zone, and that's what it's going to come down to for those guys. Who's going to throw their left hook, so to speak?
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it's going to be because if he tries to go inside, I think that might, ruin the day for him because all it takes is one match where your wrist is flopped and then your hand and wrist are done. So we'll just have to see what he wants to do and what the match kind of dictates.
Nice. We also have a ladies match. Sarah McKinney Collins.
Yeah, and Court Farwell. These are actually, I need to give a shout out to Brian Kerner for setting this match up. He always wants to get a women's match on the card. And he's been talking to Court, and she's kind of a new puller, and kind of came into the sport and started dominating everywhere that she's gone. And she wanted a super match with somebody who more seasoned and would give her a good test. And Sarah is pretty vocal in the women's arm wrestling community, always doing stuff. And whenever he approached me and said, hey, they want to pull, can you get them on the card? And I was like, absolutely. I'd love to have a good quality women's match on the card anytime we can get one. And, it just made sense. And I'm always trying to get more women at these events. It's just, it's kind of hit or miss whenever you get a women's class or not. So I'm hoping that the more that we kind of promote matches like this, the more likely it is that they're going to show up.
Nice. I have a match against one Roger Learn out of Pennsylvania. And right now, I am the odds-on underdog for this, which means I'm not going to have any pressure going there. So
those are the best matches, though, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. I was on the 90% show last week. And they had Roger and myself on. Awesome guys. Don't forget to check them out on YouTube, by the way. And what they're trying to do was make us uncomfortable. Say, hey, Roger, you're going to beat Jody. Tell us why. Jody, you're going to beat Roger. Tell us why. And that kind of thing. And I'm just going to be straight up honest. I mean, Roger's one of those guys you can't sleep on. He's been in the sport for maybe 3 years. And he's been putting in the work. And so he's one person you don't take lightly. And I said this, on my own podcast, on their podcast show, and a lot of people think that even I had Todd Hutchins on the show yesterday, and he even said, "Oh, that guy's a super duper strong." And when I told him, he's like, basically goes, telling me that I didn't have a chance. And then I said, "Well, our match is left-handed," and he kind of went, "Oh, well then left-handed doesn't really matter then." So I thought that was kind of funny, but yeah.
You're talking to the home team crowd, though. I think if you did that on, did next episode, you may get a different response. I've been watching you both pull, and I saw you come out and how you pulled with JJ Talton and everybody else, and I wouldn't count you out against many people at all, because I know originally you wanted a rematch with JJ. Who,
yes.
He is a stud left-handed, and if Roger is on that level, then it's going to be a tough day. And I know 3 years in the sport, those are the most dangerous guys. They're driven, they're motivated. They're waiting for their arm wrestling balls to drop still. So they're training every day and doing everything that they're supposed to do. And, they can make huge leaps. You never know what to expect either. So I hope you're training hard for a guy like Roger.
Oh, yeah, I am. And I'm glad you made that point, because the new pullers nowadays, as opposed to when I was coming up in like 2011, big difference. They, leaps and bounds, because, there weren't too many YouTube videos out of training and stuff when I started. And now, if you got into sport 3 years ago, between now and 3 years ago, there is so much information on the line. They didn't have seminars out back then. When I came out, it was ArmTV, the Northeast Message Board. That was pretty much it, But now everyone's, live streaming events, which is good. They may upset some other people who want to put the stuff on their YouTube channel, but everyone's doing something. So now you're like, hey, who's putting up live stream? What events coming up? What time does it kick off? What kind of the super matches kick off? So it's always good that people are having that kind of stuff. So I think the new guys now coming to sport have this humongous advantage, whereas we had to scratch and claw our way to where we are now. I don't know, do you agree or disagree?
Oh, 100%. I started back in 2007, and we used to arm wrestle out at, Don Pritchie's house, Ethan Pritchie's dad, big log cabin. We had a who's who of arm wrestlers out there. Weekly basis, we had Bill Ogsden, Stephen Green, Ryan Clark, Nick Zena, Brent Rockers used to drive 4 hours just to train with us out there. And you would go to a tournament and somebody would tell you, hey, this guy's good. There's no way there wasn't Facebook videos back then. There wasn't anything.
Right.
So you would, let alone training videos. I remember we used to do the dumbest stuff that I can think of to train, like half curls and things like that. Just things that people told you were beneficial to arm wrestling. Nobody told us about, grabbing a rubber band and doing pronation work. It was, do curls, more curls, do tricep extensions. That was the things that we thought worked. And at the end of the day, the only thing that really worked was get on the table and train so you can't move your arm anymore. And even that was a bad idea. So now it's becoming more scientific, more like a sport. And I love it in that aspect. It's just, I've been doing it, like I said, since 2007. And it's a whole different game. I like it because it's more scientific now, but also you get these new guys who, all right, they're new, I'm going to stomp them. And then all of a sudden they come in and, oh, well, I just got pinned by a new guy. Maybe I need to reevaluate what I'm doing here.
That's not a bad thing. I mean, it sucks to be that guy, but at the same time, those new guys, because of what they have now as far as tools and training and learning, that it makes us veterans. I mean, I've been doing this is what, year number 11 for me. So it makes me, I got to stay on my toes, because if I take any one of those guys for granted, rest assured I'm going to take a loss. Nobody wants to take a loss, but we all know if there's a tournament out there in your weight class and you got about 9 guys in, not everybody's going to win. We all know out of the 9 guys, one of them's taking first, which means the other 8 ain't going to win. They're going to have 2 losses at some point. So, you got to bring your A game. You got to, be on top of your game,
Oh, yeah. I mean, just take Worlds this past weekend or a couple weeks ago, for example, you were there. Mm-hmm. Just, in my class alone, I knew 4 or 5 people, and there were 20 plus people in my class. So it's just, all these people, you talk to them afterwards, and, I'm a young guy, I'm 33, so I'm not, in my 40s or anything. And people would come up and talk to me afterwards. Hey, how long you been doing it? And I'm like, 15 years. And they'd be shocked. Like, how is that possible? they're 3 or 4 years into it.
Right.
It's like, how is that possible? And, it's just the reach of arm wrestling is greater now. You get more, you get WAL out there getting people involved. You get, Game of Arms brought a huge influx of people who are kind of stuck around. It's kind of, you throw enough darts at a dartboard, some of them are going to stick. And then you just get more and more people built up, and you get all these strong guys who have been doing it for such a short period of time. And, hopefully that just leads to more and more competition and, bigger superstars in the whole game of arm wrestling.
Now, we're not done because you got this money 200-pound class. Can you tell everybody what goes? Now, is there like 8 guys in this class, or how does that work out with the money class?
Oh, there's going to be more than 8 guys. Right now I created a Google form that you can just pre-register. And right now I think there's 11 guys in the 200-pound class. And that's just guys who have pre-registered. I know of some big name guys from the East Coast who are planning on coming that don't want anybody to know they're coming. Talked to a couple guys at Worlds who actually finished in the top 3 who are coming. And I'm curious to see if this Orlando event alters some plans, unfortunately. But at the same time, in the Kansas City area, I know for sure Bill Ogden has a match coming up with Justin Bishop. And he's still going to come pull to try and win some money at 200 pounds because, Supermatch is going to make him sore, but he's still going to be pretty close to 100%. And then you're going to have Steven Logs and his son, Cody Dollar. You're going to have Ryan Clark. I'll be pulling the 200-pound class. You're going to have Danny Gillian and Kevin Harris. And, you get Chase Stratton in there. And these guys, then Dan Whittle's down 4 hours away. Brent Rockers would be there, but his son's getting married. So, those are just guys within driving distance of Kansas City, let alone the other guys from all over the country. I've gotten guys from Vegas. I know that I've been talking to one of the best actually lightweight pullers who wants to come pull in the world out in Colorado in the Wyoming area, potentially coming. I know one of your guys from the Oregon area, Brandon Dye, is planning on coming out. It sounds like he might be planning on pulling that 200-pound class.
Yeah.
And money gets people out of the woodwork. Awards get people out of the woodwork. This class has both of those. Big 3-4 foot axes on top of $2,000 payout for one class. Hopefully it justifies the money I put into it.
Now we'll say this: the one thing, and I like trophies, and whoever's watching the show can look directly behind me and see all the awards I have here. That's just what's on the mantles, But there's certain events that certain awards signify them, sets it from the rest. If we're talking about those gorilla statues, we all know we're talking about Michigan State. If we're talking about hatchets and stuff or axes, then we're talking about your events. And I like it because, I love awards. I love medals, plaques, trophies, but every so often, a promoter out there wants to do something different. So then you get statues or swords or belts or hammers or what have you, or hatches, that kind of stuff. What prompted you to go that route as far as awards will go?
So, whenever I first started doing these tournaments, I kind of came in with a mantra. There's the number one thing that gets people's attention is money. Well, you need more money than ever now to get attention. $1,000 ain't going to do it like it used to. The ROTN events used to only give away $1,000 first place, and you get John Brezink, Travis Bajent, and the best in the world there. Mm-hmm. And now you give away $1,000, you'll be lucky to get all the local guys to show up.
Right.
So the second thing is you have to combine things. So super matches get attention to events. So I try to get a good quality lineup of super matches to kind of highlight the talent that will be there. And then listen, I'll tell them my formula to a successful event. And, that's kind of how I built this over the years is, all right, super matches and awards. It started out with these huge Eagle awards that I've only seen given away as overall awards, and we gave them away for first place. That got a lot of attention. Well, those are $130 a piece. And, if you want to give out something like that, you need a lot of different things to come together. Right. So then I started expanding on it. What else can I do? So then I found some hammers. I did an event probably 2 years ago, called the Kansas City Classic, and I had hammers, axes, and then little resin monster trophies. And the hammers, at that point, I was just like, okay, I'm done giving away hammers. Hammers are played out at this point. Everybody has one that's going to get one, and if everybody has one, then they're meaningless. So I decided but I found those axes at the same time. Those axes were cost effective, and they're badass because Brent Rocker is one of the most decorated. This is the second time I've thrown out Brent Rocker's name, but this is a story that kind of highlights my point here. Brent Rocker is one of the most decorated arm wrestlers out there. High level, pulls everywhere. Recently just won a world championship down in Florida. Yeah. So he told me, I came to your event exclusively to win one of these axes. I was like, okay, that tells me that these axes are pretty badass. I need to use them. Yes. So then for the overall award, I had these big old axes. Then they weren't the nicest big axes, but Brent still loved those too. And then everybody else loved them. I love the axes. I love the hammers. I got one of each of those things throughout pulling out my own tournament. So I was like, okay, the axes are a hit. Let's make that our thing. Rather than the Eagles, I'm going to make the axes. And it's kind of the same thing as Michigan State. You borrow ideas from different places. Right. So, all the props in the world to Steve Pettis. He came up with the formula for the awards and runs one of the most successful state tournaments that probably will ever be in existence based on the gorillas. So I was like, I want these axes. So then the next event, I did the axes for first through third, and then I had these big overall awards. Nick Zeno won right, Cody Merritt won left, and they're both holding their axes, smiling, loving the hell out of these, and they've won every award out there. Multiple time world champions and stuff. So I'm like, all right, I got another winner here. So this year I got the big overall axes first place, and man, they are huge. Like, whoever wins them, if you're flying in, bring an extra bag because you're gonna have to check it or you're gonna have to mail it to yourself. Chance Shaw, whenever he was here, won an axe and he had to ship it back to himself.
I was gonna ask you that. If by chance, I happen to win one of those axes or hatches, whatever, how in the world am I gonna get through security with that thing? I may just say, hey Ryan, here's my address. You might have to mail it because I don't want no issues going through security at the airport saying, hey.
You can check a gun, so you can check an axe. They're not going to let you on the plane because you're going to hack through something. They're going to think that you're trying to hijack the damn plane. But, you get it. That's why, Bob Brown was at that event. And I told him, I have an extra luggage bag from all my traveling. You can take and check it. I think they figured it out where him and Cody just put their axes in a carry-on bag and paid the $25 checking fee. And it's worth it that way because I think Chance paid $50 to ship his. So it's, it's not ideal in that respect, but at the same time, these are badass awards. So, if you're going to pay a little extra to get these home and hang up on your wall, I have mine hanging on my wall, and they definitely stand out from the rest. I have hammers, I have axes, I have championship belts from all of my polling years, and the axes stand out.
Well, they stand out because they're different too, because not every tournament offers those kind of, axes and stuff. So, and Roger Learns on there, he said, hopefully he can win one in the super heavyweight class. And Roger, I'm telling you right now, don't sell yourself short because we all know as when tournament happens, no matter who the name are, a lot of it has to do with the matchups. So who knows? You might get a bye in the first round and you might get two studs who end up going at each other. So you never know. But getting back to my story is that, when you have those axes, that signifies, okay, that's Ryan Johnston's tournament. Statues of the gorilla. All right, that's Pettis and the boys in Michigan. So when you have that kind of stuff, it's like, okay, this is big time stuff right here. And what's the next thing? I mean, who knows? I mean, Laterio has belts, Top Roll, they got their belts. I mean, I'm looking for the next thing. Like, okay, what's going to happen? Someone's going to start. I think watches might be a little expensive. Or I know Laterio had those PAF championship rings. He had, that, and I was like, I think
I have some of those rings too. I have two of those rings. It's you kind of have to be creative. I know that Brian Kerner gave away swords, but swords are kind of easily accessible too. It's you got to be creative. I know that Bill Schumer out in St. Louis, he runs the Strongest Badge event. He's come up with these gladiators, kind of similar to I don't know what he does. They don't feel quite as heavy as the resin, So he may 3D print them, but I think with 3D printers, the sky's the limit with what you can do with these. So, I'm hoping that somebody comes up with something. Some of my favorite awards out there that I've never won are those big ass gripped up arm wrestling arms. You know what I'm talking about?
Matter of fact, I got one sitting back here.
I'm jealous because I've been trying to find an event that has one. I'll fly across the country for one of those. Listen up, promoters. You want to get some attention. Get first through third of those. The last event that I saw with those was Sit Down Nationals 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, I got one sitting on my mantle behind me right here. It's not as big as like the giant ones, but this one was at a Bill Collins event. So, man, I got one sitting right there. So, yeah, and those are awesome too. I mean, because those right there, it's not like it's all just, we were talking 3D. Them things right there, it's like you cherish that. I even have a bullet, a big giant bullet. Matter of fact, I'm going to grab it right now. I don't know if you guys are watching, but I'm going to go grab this bullet right now. And I got 2 of them. They're from the Freedom Pool, Kenny Bostic Memorial. So here's the one from 2018. I don't know if people are watching the show, but here's that one. Okay, the 2018 Freedom Pool. But the one I won in my super match is a lot bigger than that one. And that Joker's like that big. So, again, this is the 2019 Kenny Bostic Memorial Super Match Champion. You can just tell the difference in size of that Joker. So, I'm a sucker for, because Hawthorne, Nevada is a military town. So, to have those as like, prizes and stuff for super match pullers and stuff, that's awesome. So, I'm thinking, okay, you don't see that. So, when people, are different, then it's like going, oh, it's unique because nobody else. If everybody had, it's just like this, like you said, if everybody had a belt, it doesn't really mean anything. Whereas, how many gorillas can you have? Now you can have one puller that has 5 gorillas because they've been doing it for 5 years, as opposed to 5 different promoters with gorillas too. Then it kind of just watered down everything. So,
well, and the thing is, that's another thing, like the integrity in the promoters. I don't want to see, my axes you can find if you really look hard enough. I don't want to see promoters start giving those away. I found Steve Pettis' gorillas where he gets those made. They're actually pretty cost effective for what I thought they would cost. But you could never do that. Like, you cannot be the secondary gorilla event. So promoters don't steal unique event ideas. At least talk to the promoter first, which is a big thing in my book because promoters kind of step on each other's toes too much and don't pay attention to each other, and then wonder why events get watered down. And if you start stealing awards, it becomes a bigger issue because then you're stealing the identity of the event almost.
Yeah, because we all know when it comes to axes, you connected with you. And like I said, Gorillas, Steve Pettis, and the list goes on and on. So, I get all that. And I hope, it's bad enough now. October 23rd was the date. Then all of a sudden, John Brzezink's pulling, Paul in that day. Okay. And then you got the Bob Kosher event, the memorial that weekend too in Montana. And nothing against Bob Kosher. He was an awesome referee and stuff, Hall of Famer. And it's a sad of his passing and stuff. And they decided to have, his memorial tournament on the same weekend as yours. It seems like, I think there was like a Reno tournament, I think at one point too, on the same weekend.
Yeah. Well, and just on that note, I get a lot of flack, and Drellick's a little worse than me out there, but he's out there protecting his dates. And, I do it because mine I consider to be a national event. And it was up until, there's 6 other events on the same date. I scheduled mine out almost a year in advance, and then everybody else piled on top of me. And it's fine. Travis on the East Coast, not a huge deal. I think that I probably lost a few people though, because he has Paul Lynn, the best 200-pound arm wrestler outside of John Brzezinck, pulling John Brzezinck, who's the GOAT. And then also he has a lineup of 200-pound pullers pulling each other. Well, that's obviously what I was going after for this event.
Right.
But, like I said, I don't know if any of them actually would have came. That's not a huge deal. It's Travis, Page, and I can't compete with the name recognition in the event. Hopefully there's enough pullers to make both of our events. And then the Montana event, giving away a bunch of money. Rance Clayton's doing one in Mississippi. I'm just looking at these, like, hopefully they're regional events. Kansas City has a big enough polling class in general that we can get 200 entries if everybody shows up.
Right.
And then hopefully we get another 100 plus. And we have talented pullers, some of the best in the country. So I know my event's going to be great because I know all of the talented pullers in the Kansas City area, which is enough to make a national class anyways. But I am trying to get a nationwide reach, because I'm trying to mimic what I used to see whenever I was coming up in the arm wrestling world, the ROTNs, the Nationals, the WALs when they first started. That's what we don't get that anymore, because they're, WAL went to super match format. There's no cohesion in any of these events anymore. So, I want to see more Michigan State style events, but Michigan State even just gets a large number of pullers, but there's no money, so you don't get the top end people. So, it's just promoters. Shout out to Steve Pettis, because he's running an event on the same day too, but he reached out to me first, and his is with one of those powerlifting events, and he specifically said, I'm sorry, but I have to do it this date. Will you be deeply offended? And I said, I'm not thrilled, but I really appreciate you reaching out. Go ahead. Hopefully there's enough pullers for both of us. Corey Miller also scheduled Colorado State originally October 23rd, and I reached out to him and said, hey, man, I'm trying to do this big event. You're within 8 hours. 8 hours is kind of my reach, where I'm kind of, a little more protective of the territory. Right. And I said, hey, I'm doing it this date. Is there any way you can move it? And he actually moved it, and I, met up with him down in Florida, really thanked him, said, hey, I'd love you to come pull. You can pull any weight class, come win some money if you're free. It's elk hunting season, so that's like a holiday to people who are real big hunters, so he probably won't be able to make it. But it's one of those things, like, whenever you're a promoter and you work with people, I really appreciate that. It makes everybody look better. And then, guys like Rance Clayton, he's done his event the same day, for years. I just didn't realize that. And then, the Montana event, they have their own group of pullers. I don't think they're trying to pull in too much from out of the country. Right. And then Travis is doing his thing out there. Not a huge deal, hopefully they all work out. I don't want to be the guy that really complains about other events. It's just, I just think that promoters need to work together a little better, but at the end of the day, pullers will go wherever they think is the best event.
Well, cool. So let me ask you this, going forward, are you going to plan on having this event next year back in June then? Because I don't want to step on toes either,
No, so usually I run it the third week in September, but it's in the same weekend as Worlds for 2 years in a row with COVID. So that's why I'm doing it later. Usually it's every year I have a banner in my garage that says, Fallen Heroes Arm Wrestling Tournament, third week in September annually. So it's not going to be an issue. I moved it to June last year because we didn't do it, and then moved it from June because I like I said earlier, didn't want to step on your toes, and I wanted your event because I know how charity events go. You don't have any prospect of making money. You just want to give the biggest donation that you can to your given charity event. Right. And that one was to do with your son. So I was like, even if this gets him 2 extra entries, that's 2 extra entries. So that was my thought process.
Right. Because I want to make sure I don't, because I didn't realize that you were, planning that too. So I want to make sure I don't, step on your toes, with the same deal. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, no. I made that decision on my own without even reaching out to you, because you're big enough in the arm wrestling community that I knew what happened and I knew what you were doing, and I figured I can be successful later in the year, and it worked out fine.
Cool. Appreciate that. Well, I'll tell you what, when this tournament's all said and done, and because we got a lot of events that day, I'm telling you now, people are going to be like, man, you should have been at the Fallen Heroes event. I got this gut feeling that, a lot of people should have been there. I get it. Brzezinski, is over there. He's doing his, comeback tour. I get all that, and it's going to be a good match. But outside of that, I don't know who else is pulling out there. But I will say this, though. Kansas City is a place to be, because what Jamie Shelton was saying, eat at Brian Kerner's house, because I'm like, okay, when I get to town, okay, I'm ready to eat. Like, what? Well, got to make way.
Make him make you burgers.
Eat. What's that?
Make him make you some of his burgers. You can go get barbecue anywhere, but have him make you some of his hamburgers, because they're like meatloaf. They're incredible.
I'm gonna have to reach out to him and go, Brian, I heard about them hamburgers, man. You have to let me know what's going on. So, but I've gotten an opportunity to go to different places, Oklahoma and Texas, and never been to Kansas City, but I'm looking forward to doing that, because you always find a different kind of style of pullers, like you see them, but you never actually get to meet them. And so I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to lock up, with all the other guys, whether it be after pool too. There's always that. There's going to be so much array of talent. It's not even funny. Like, it's going to be like a who's who. It's almost like a nationals, if you will, with the array of talent there,
Oh yeah, I mean, we're gonna have Don Underwood, Hollywood himself. We're gonna have Nick Zena, Bill Logsden, Stephen Logsden, Brian Kerner, Ryan Clark. You're gonna have Cody Dollar coming up, and the super match card that we've already gone out over. Eric Gerlach, guys like that. It's you're gonna have a stacked event in every class. And actually, there's one more thing I need to push about the event. I'm stealing an idea from the East Coast. One thing that pisses me off more than anything is whenever people steal my ideas and don't give credit. Well, I think it's Pennsylvania State or whatever event is ran out there that's really big each year. They have a semi-pro class, and I love that idea. So I added a semi-pro class for this event because it's such a big event that if you're not an elite level puller, you may go 2 and out pretty easily in the pro class. Right. So this gives those pullers who are kind of fringe in between the opportunity to pull semi-pro. And then amateurs are actually amateurs for once, where they're not guys that have been pulling for 10 years that should be pulling pro, but are too afraid to lose. So, this creates a buffer. So come pull a lot of classes, pull amateur, pull semi-pro, pull pro. It's going to be a big event. We need entries. We need to give Jake a lot of money. We need to give the SAFE organization a lot of money. They're an endowment fund. The only way they make money is to have donations and then make money off of the investments from those donations. So we need a lot of money because we have a lot of expenses to get through to get to where we can give money.
Right. So explain the pre-registration. How does that work? I'm already pre-registered, but for those out there wanting to know, what does that mean?
Yeah, so I've had a few questions about it. I just created that form to give me an idea of who's coming. Right now we're up to 40-something individual pullers that have pre-registered off of a little Google form that I created. Yeah. I'll post it in the event today. If you're not in the event, it's Pulling for Jake /Fallen Heroes 5. And I'll post the link to the pre-registration form. The only pullers that it's really important to is the 200-pound class, because if you just show up to try and surprise the competition on the day, I'm going to charge you $60. If you pre-register and let me know you're coming, that way I can promote your name as being associated with the class to make it bigger and better. I'm going to only charge you $50. It's only $10, but $10 is $10. That's a meal. So,
right.
I'm just trying to save you money to benefit you, make your competition better, and make the event better.
There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Ryan Johnston is putting on an awesome event he does on a yearly basis. All proceeds go to the Jake, and it's very unfortunate in his situation. But, hey, let's give back, guys, because I think we're kind of missing the boat. Yeah, money's great. Money brings big people, but at the same time, it's like, okay, sometimes you got to set that aside and do things for a good cause, And so, like I said, every July, last Saturday in July, I'm in Southern Oregon. I make sure I support my buddy Jonathan Woody for suicide prevention. I mean, over the years, he's had Brandon Dye there. He's had Mike McGraw. He's had Justin Bishop. Those guys that actually came to his event. So, you got a good event, but you got a huge array of talent around you to pull from, or as opposed to we do it as much. But the thing is that we do it for a good cause. I think sometimes we kind of get lost in all the hoopla and stuff, and I'm pulling you for 1,000, this, that, and that kind of thing. And so I think we kind of, we need to go back and touch home, so to speak. So October 23rd,
get out there. Pay attention to the events that are trying to make money off you and the events that are giving money back, because there's 2 different motives and 2 different levels of people trying to put on quality events. People who always try to line their own pockets are probably going to water down their events and make them as formulaic as possible. Little medals with a sticker and charge you the same amount that somebody's giving away axes is charging you to pull. So, just pay attention. It's a different quality. There's different levels of events out there, different level of promoters. And, I'm not taking away from those events. They have their place. It's just, if you're choosing, make sure you choose the ones that actually seem like they make the most sense.
Exactly. So again, October 23rd, in the heart of the country, Kansas City, Missouri. I'm going to be there. A lot of y'all going to be there. Roger's going to be there. Cody Merritt's going to be there. And all the boys are going to be there, and ladies too. It's going to be an awesome happening. Ryan, my friend, I want to thank you very much for joining me on the show so we can touch base on the Fallen Heroes event that you got going on. And I can't wait to see you in 2 weeks.
Yep, I'll see you that Friday. Maybe I can show you the best barbecue place in Kansas City. I'll take you there.
I'm looking forward to it, my friend. I will see you then, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds great.
Take care, man.
You too.
All right, bye. Ryan Johnston, I'm telling you, awesome guy. Check it out. yes, I understand October 23rd is full events. I get all that. I really do. But, you know, you're going to hear about Brzezinski and Paul Lynn. It's going to go on YouTube as soon as the motherfucker's done. So we'll see all that. I'm a big fan. I'll watch it, but my mind's going to be in the Midwest right there at the time. So anyway, that's that. Guys and girls, thank you once again for joining me. It is Friday. I want everybody to have a good weekend, good practice weekend. If you got events coming up tomorrow, like the Mr. Olympia, good luck to all the participants there. And as always, I got to look for my next guest. So I will see you when I see you. Y'all take care now.